guys, my name is Renee. A lot of you have been commenting and following my project right here, 12 at a time socks. So I wanted to answer a couple of questions because a lot of you have been asking me basically how I cast them on, as well as how I do a turn. It's going to be a little bit complicated on account of I have a 3-month-old puppy and my other dog right here, so hopefully there won't be too many interruptions, but I'll try to do the best I can to answer these questions. So first of all, a lot of you have been asking me why. I think that the biggest answer to that has come from this is, why not? Like, I love knitting socks, but the prospect of knitting individually 6 pairs of self-striping makes me crazy. So I just figured, I saw this video on the internet, so a lot of you also have been giving me a lot too much credit. I saw this video on the internet, I decided to give it a try. So I'm not the original idea behind this, but I'm here, I'm willing to show you how to do it. So first of all, you might see here, so I have kind of cuffs started, and you can sort of maybe see I've got 6 pairs in all. They are sisters, they're not twins. They're the same 50-gram skeins of yarn, just started at separate points. I don't have the patience for finding the exact same start point. So I make sisters, but I envy those of you who have the patience to be able to do that. So so this is what it looks like at this point, and you can see here actually, obviously the yarn's a little bit not tangled, but just kind of attached to each other just by the nature of what it is, but no tangles at this point. Haven't had any tangles yet. You can see here, if we lift this up, they're all pretty well fed directly out of their little balls here. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this down, and oh, here's a good opportunity for a turn, because you can see here, oh no, not a good opportunity for a turn, but I'll show you anyway. So what I've been doing and how I kind of turn it all together, if this feed yarn was on the other side, I would be at a point where I needed to turn, but I'm technically not. So what I've been doing is just laying it into the box, flipping the whole thing around, and then picking it up exactly as it was. And now you can see my feed yarns are on the wrong side. So I'm gonna turn them again. So I'm gonna set the box down on the ground, but basically you can see individually I've got my first sock here attached to the first ball, and my second piece of yarn attached to the second ball. Here, maybe I can show you. So first yarn, first ball, second yarn, second ball, third yarn, third ball, and then I kind of went in a direction like this. That way I would have each pair kind of lined up together. That's just was my preference when I was setting it up, but so I'm gonna set this box down on the ground, and yeah, essentially right now I have it on 2 32-inch needles, so you can see here, and I'm kind of abusive to my needles. A lot of you are probably going to cringe when I do this, but how I start is I kind of look at where my cuff is here. I make sure that everything is lined up and the cuffs are all correct, so I don't have any twisted cable or anything like that. And then I pull on the wrong side needle over here, and the right side needle over here. So the working needle I'm pulling towards the very end, and my resting needle I'm pulling the opposite direction. And you can't really see what I'm doing, but I just basically pull them tight like this. And this is where it's kind of abusive. I just kind of squinch them pretty tight. and then I'm just gonna progress these few socks up the needle, and I'll give it another kind of bit of tightening on there so that we have really tight, all together kind of socks. And then I take the needle that I've just pulled through and bring it, and that's the one that I'm gonna knit through. So the one that I pulled through on the working end is the one that I use to knit through on this side. And so I find that my yarns kind of come from underneath my needle, and I haven't quite determined why exactly that is, because at first I was trying to kind of fix them and put them back the other way, and they kept ending up there. So I just am allowing it, and I figure, you know, whatever the process is, what it is. So I'm actually kind of like pulling this yarn towards me and making sure that it's all within the circle, and then knitting them. Oh, I dropped a stitch. As you might be able to tell, I'm really not an instructor. In the video world, I'm much better at telling you what I'm doing in person. But, you know, that doesn't work for the thousands of you on the internet who want to know about this project. So, basically, I'm going to go through and work this first cuff. I'm doing knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. And then I think what I'm going to end up doing, just so that I don't get bored, because like I was saying, the thought of knitting 6 pairs of self-striping, very simple stockinette socks, just kind of makes me crazy and makes me cringe. So that's why when I saw this video, I was so excited. I was like, I can do that. I'm going to do this. And so that's kind of what got me started on this, and then, you know, it all went from there. So I'm almost through this cuff. I kind of like to tie the little end yarn in a bow here. I think that what I'm gonna end up doing, this is from my cast on, sorry, this little end from my cast on. What I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about just going through and casting, or weaving in all of the ends in there, because if you have them too long, you're gonna think you're tangled constantly, but you're really not. So that was happening to me kind of in the very beginning, because I had my tails too long. I overestimated, I think, what I needed for my cast on, and so they kept kind of intertwining. It was driving me nuts, and so I like to tie them up in a little bow and weave them in, but for this project I might just weave them all in, just to kind of get that all out of my hair. And so as I just made it through one, I'll just pick up the next yarn off of the second sock, second needle, or second sock, second skein, and then just work them right down the line, basically. And you can see I have this needle hanging here. This is on the opposite side that I'm not working. And what I'll end up doing is these socks, as I finish them, they'll just kind of work down the line. And what I was talking about by minding the ends of my needles is sometimes these needles can get twisted around. Instead of having everything on the interior of the loop, you know, you'll have kind of one yarn over here, and that's where you can really kind of get some tangles, especially with the non-working needle on the end here. If this gets twisted up in the middle here, you're hooped. You're gonna end up having some major tangle issues. So what I was talking about by minding the ends of my yarn is just minding the ends of these needles and making sure that as you're moving along that you don't have them getting looped up on anything. So I will go through and keep knitting this. Now, a lot of you have asked me to do an entire round and then turn. That might make this video really long, especially because I'm just nervously chattering. And I'm bound to get interrupted by Puppy here soon. She's chewing on a Kong right now, but she likes attention, so she will come up here at some point. And so as I'm knitting here, I'm just kind of progressing all of the extra socks up as I go. And then once I finish one, I just drop it down below next to the other one that's sitting in my lap, basically. If you're hearing disgusting noises, it is because of this one right here, pug named Zombie. She's kind of gross. So moving forward, I think what I'm going to end up doing, I feel like I might have just dropped off of what I was saying in this, but I feel like what I'm going to end up doing is probably doing a number of different patterns, just so that I don't get bored, because like I was saying, you know, the idea of knitting 6 pairs of stockinette socks is not all that joyous to me. So I kind of like to leave this one here until I at least get this next one established while I'm changing over. But so I think I'm going to do a couple of them in moss stitch, a couple rib, maybe a couple of stockinette. My husband really likes ribbed socks, so I think I'm just going to do 2 of his in standard rib, and then maybe 1 moss stitch for him, and then just see kind of where it takes me. Once I get through these cuffs, I feel like I can wrap my head around what the yarns are going to work up as, and all of that. I've not worked with most of these yarns before. They are just ones that I keep kind of passing over in my stash, and I figure why not give them the opportunity to be knit. So once I saw this project, I knew that that's exactly what I wanted to do, and that's why I went forward with it. So now that kind of this sock is just hanging out in my hand, it's not really doing anything for me, I'll progress it down and then move this one forward. A lot of you have been saying that this is crazy and all of that sort of thing, and oh my gosh, I can't do 2 at a time and all of that sort of thing. And like, you know, I used to feel that way as well. It just takes practice, and I think that the reason that I've been able to manage these yarns as well as I have is because I've done a lot of knitting on, I've done a lot of 2 at a time socks. For starters, that is a huge help, but as well, like try doing 2 at a time color work. That is a nightmare. So I would rather do this, I feel like, any day than doing 2 at a time color work or intarsia socks. So that's kind of my preference. Just because they end up getting so twisted, and pulling from both sides of the ball is the way that I like to do it. But For this circumstance, luckily I had 50-gram skeins of all of these sock yarns, and so I just decided to go with that, and it's actually been kind of a blessing, I would say, because I can't imagine pulling from two ends of a ball on this. It just would be so much more messy, and might drive me a little bit crazy. So me. What are you doing? Hey, okay. So I've got a few socks to get through on this. So what I would say is, if you are considering trying something like this, do it. Why not? Like, if you have done 2 at a time socks, you can do 3 at a time, you can do 4 at a time. It's really entirely the same principle. It's just a matter of, like I said, minding the ends of your yarn. You can see, like, it's still, I mean, they're still all kind of here, and not tangled at this point, so I'm feeling really grateful for that. And then you just kind of keep progressing them up further as you go. And if you need to, you know, if you need to pull one end of your cable, you can do that. I don't think I'm going to go through and knit this entire round of socks. But like I said, all you want to do when you need to turn, you can do it one of 2 ways. If you are somebody who has worked a lot of 2 at a time socks before, what I learned to do was turn one direction on one side of the sock and then turn back the other direction on the other side of the sock. That basically just keeps a door hinge sort of situation happening, to where you're just going back and forth and you're never actually twisting it fully. With this scenario, like I said at the beginning of the video, I just want to take this, put it directly down onto my box, flip the entire box, and then pick it back up again. I feel like that just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to worry about which direction did I turn it. Can I read my yarns? Can I figure out exactly where I was before? So that's really it. I know that seems really like a very basic jump into this, but how I did the cast on, I'm obviously going way out of order. My mind is so scattered when it comes to being on video. So, but basically how I did the cast on was, since I'm doing top down, I'm doing 2 different sizes of sock. My husband and I prefer the same leg length. So what I decided to do was go top down, and how I did it was, on the first 32-inch cable, I cast on half the stitches. So for my 64 stitch, cast on 32, for his, cast on 36. You know, for each yarn down the line, just cast on, drop those working yarns, pick up another working yarn, cast it on, drop it, and just kind of progress through all 12 that way. And then once you turn it, you're gonna add your second needle on, and then pick up each of the yarns that you were working with and finish the cast on going the other direction. So you end up with like all of these little V's, but they're all connected. And then you just join to work in the round and progress as I've shown you here. Now, the beginning it was kind of a nightmare, honestly, just trying to kind of get the rhythm, figure out exactly what the process was gonna look like. Like I said, I've never done this before, so it was really my first jump into something quite like this. really enjoying it, really having having a lot of fun answering all of your questions and all of that sort of thing. Another question that I've been getting is what I'm going to do with the heel. I have a way of knitting socks that I really prefer. I really like to do a short row heel and no gusset. They fit me really well. They fit my husband really well. I haven't met anybody who wasn't happy with the way that they fit. So I'm going to do a short row heel, which how I'm going to do that is basically you just work them one at a time. So you go through, you do your full heel on your first sock, and then just drop it down, move on to the second heel, do your second full heel, drop it down, and then once you're done with the heels, onto the foot, onto the toe, and you know, soon enough you'll have some pretty awesome socks. So I will try to post another video if you guys like this video. Once I get to the heel, maybe once I have something more interesting to say. Overall, so far, the process has been really cool. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's funny. I think it's super, super crazy, but it doesn't feel as crazy doing it as it probably looks in all of the photos. To me, it just kind of feels like 2 at a time socks, but 12. So I hope that a bunch of you try this. I'm having a blast, so I'm excited every time I get home to work on it. So yeah, I'll update you guys on my progress, and thanks for watching.